Good day, everyone. Today, I will continue the report on effective science teaching. So, here are the subtopics of my report. First, safety in the laboratory and classroom, tools and technology integration in the science classroom, and we have lesson planning and innovative teaching science lessons. For the safety in the laboratory and classroom, according to Louis Pasteur, without laboratories, men of science are soldiers without arms. So this is indeed true because scientists use the equipments, tools in the laboratories for them to experiment or to undergo their experimentation. So indeed, without laboratories, their hypothesis or their claims would not be proven since they cannot do experimentation. And in terms of science teaching, according to Dale's Cone of Experience by Edgar Dale, um, after 2 weeks, we tend to remember 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we hear, 70% of what we say, and 90% of what we say and do. That is why, based on this cone, as a teacher, it is very important to engage our students in active learning since um, by doing experiments, they tend to remember 90% of it. So according to Confucius, I see and I forget, I hear and I remember, I do and I understand. Diba? So it is very important or it would be better for the students to engage in hands-on learning. But before going to the laboratory or before the students will undergo a certain experiment, it is a must for us teachers to explain the safety laboratory precautions. Because, according to this statement, safety is not an experiment, it is a commitment. Safety is a state of mind. Accidents are an absence of mind, or physically present but mentally absent. So now let us discuss the different science safety rules that you could also explain or give to your students when having a face-to-face class. So first, before starting, of course, it is very important to secure loose clothing. This is to prevent our clothes from staining if ever or in case there will be spilled chemicals or liquids. Then, next is tie long hair back. So it is very important in a way that the hair fall might contaminate the specimen. Or if we are dealing with fire, it is very important to tie long hair to avoid burning. Next is wear closed shoes. So it is very important to explain this to the students so that our feet would be protected from spilled chemicals. Next is be organized. In what way? Have your experiment written in your book. So, um, in terms of doing science experiments, it is good that the teacher will require the students to have their laboratory notebook. This is where they write their or the procedures of their experiment and at the same time record their observations so that they could keep or they could collect all the experiments that they did and it will mark as their journal or portfolio. So know how to use all of the equipment. So these are the basic laboratory equipment in our school. Now, before the student will use them, it is a must that they understand or they know how to use it to avoid damage. And read any labels on materials or reagents. So there are reagents which are biohazardous, needles and sharps. So that have your students understand or learn how to read first before using the chemicals. Next, third, report incidents. So do not touch any materials that have been split, just like this picture, because it would lead to burning our skin. For example, hydrochloric acid that is very acidic and it could irritate our skin. And report any faulty equipment immediately if the students observe that a certain balance is not working properly. So tell the students to report it to us or to the teacher. Fourth, wash. Wash your hands before and after handling materials and equipment. Of course, this is very important to sanitize ourselves. And wash equipment thoroughly after use. Of course, it is very important so that there will be no left chemicals on that specific equipment. Fifth is protect yourself. So have the students wear safety goggles, gloves, and laboratory coat or apron when necessary. Okay? Of course, this is for protection. Fifth, protect yourself by not eating or drinking inside the laboratory. So have your students understand this rule in order to protect themselves from being poisoned because our hands or their hands are already exposed to chemicals. Then, do not touch your face in case you have any substances on your hands. So there are parts of our face which are very sensitive, such as our eyes, nose, as well as our lips. Then, do not engage in practical jokes or horseplay in the laboratory, such as these pictures, wherein the student will tend to pour this liquid to his or to her classmate, so it is very bad. Another is this playing in the laboratory. It could lead to accidents or it could break some equipments in the laboratory. Next, maintain your area by keeping your area tidy and free of clutter. Then, put all materials and instruments away and wipe your bench when finished. Then, dispose waste products according to instructions. So, there is this segregation of waste. We have biodegradable waste, general waste, hazardous waste, and recyclable waste. So some laboratories, especially for liquid chemicals, they put it in waste bottles. Now let's proceed to tools and technology integration in the science classroom. The effective use of technology in education has changed the face of education, and it has created more educational opportunities. Both teachers and students have benefited from various educational technologies. Teachers have learned how to integrate technology in their classrooms, and students are getting more interested in learning with technology. The use of technology in education has removed educational boundaries. Both students and teachers can collaborate in real time using advanced educational technologies. So you have there integrating technology in the classroom. So of course, this is very useful now by the teachers. The technology is very useful so that we could provide visual illustrations to our students. Now, here comes getting the interest of the students to learn. Since by the use of technology, it could give or it could provide students symbols or pictures which are not familiar to them. So instead of letting our students just imagine this class. So by the use of technology, we allow them to see what we are really teaching. So technology is the application of scientific knowledge to the practical aims of human life, or as it is sometimes phrased, to the change and manipulation of human environment. So computer technology in education and its effectiveness. First, computer technology can be used for visual illustrations, just like what I have said earlier. So there are a lot of things that computer technology could give that is not present in the past. So, for example, the planets of the solar system. It is very good for us to use technology so that they can see or they can visualize what our planet's all about. Next, computer technology can be used in long distance learning, especially in this new normal education wherein face to face classes is still prohibited. That is why the use of technology is really rampant for the students, not just for the students, but also for the teachers. So it could give an avenue for us to continue teaching and for the students to continue learning in long distance. Next, computer technology can be used in real-time education, or it could give instant or quick explanation of certain things. So how do teachers use technology in the classroom? First, by administration and monitoring student performance. So, for example, in our e-class record, so our class record are already found in our computers or in our laptops. This is where we record their scores in every activity. Also, technology is already used in terms of printing their activity sheets. We are no longer writing our activities or making use of our visual aids by writing the different things or tasks that we give to our students. Next, use internet for research purposes and to drive real-time examples to students. Of course, this is the very essence of technology because this is where pieces of information can be read through internet. And of course, to give real-time examples to the students, just like examples of things which are not common to the students. Next is creating a class website or blog and post assignments, of course, provide file downloads, arguments on various academic topics. So it is very common not to have Facebook page in a certain class or group chats in Messenger. In terms of our class, we have Canvas for us to see the different courses, our assignments and activities to be done. But there are also challenges of new technology for teachers. One of which is the lack of professional development. So in terms of this, there are still teachers who are adjusting to technology. So some of the teachers only have basic knowledge of technology. That's why they cannot maximize it well. So the challenge there is to provide teachers professional development on how they can efficiently use technology. Next is resistance to change. So, in the advent of technological development, there are still teachers who tend to resist the use of technology, especially for those who are not really equipped with the knowledge on technology, just like the old teachers. Or in other words, there are teachers who do not want to be taught about technology, maybe because it is really hard now for them to learn about the usage of technology or the manipulation of computers. Next, lack of innovation. So this is also a challenge because then again, there are many ways in which we can maximize the use of technologies. However, um, we just stick to the basic, like the basic use of PowerPoint presentation, the basic use of Microsoft Word, where in fact there are still many ways um, in which we can make use of those programs to provide new face to our presentation in terms of teaching or delivering the lesson. Next is access. Of course, this is one of the challenges because in the new normal education, it is yes, learning would still be possible. Effective learning would still be possible for having um, or allowing the students to virtually see their teachers through Google Classroom or Google Meet or through Zoom. However, the the problem is not all places, especially here in the Philippines, have access to internet connection. So there are levels of technology integration in the curriculum. First level is entry, by which the teacher begins to use technology. Second is adaptation. The teacher directs students for conventional and procedural use of technology. When is it applicable? Like for example, if you want to introduce a certain website or interactive website to the students, okay? So, of course, it is us responsible for introducing it as the entry. Then the teacher directs the students. So here is the adaptation mode wherein the teacher will open the website, then instruct what are the things that are found in that certain website that could provide useful information to the students. So in adaptation, teacher already facilitates in exploring and independently using technology. So here comes teacher being the facilitator and the students are now exploring technology. And fourth, infusion. The teacher provides learning context and students choose the technology tools to achieve the outcome. Okay? Like for example, when the teacher tells about the law of motion. So by using that certain website introduced by the teacher, the student could explore certain experiments about law of motion to to provide a certain outcome. Then transformation. The teacher encourages the innovative use of technology, the higher level of technology integration. So technology should not replace teachers, of course. Its main use is to enable students learn better through increasing their engagement in educational activities. So this is our main goal, to engage our students, to increase the interest of our students to learn. That is why there is an innovation, there is usage of technology. And technology is not having cool iPads or expensive gadgets. It is about the learning process. So of course, there are students having cool iPods, but the application that they open is not for educational purposes or for not learning purposes. So technology has to improve the learning process and aim at improving students' grades. Of course, it is in the part of the student on how they discipline themselves, but of course, we also play a certain role in educating the students on how to properly use technology for them to learn more about science. And it is also our role on how to inspire, on how to influence them, um, not to be more on social media, but to be more on the learning process. And of course, here comes the role of the parents as well to guide the students. Technology has to facilitate and stimulate individual learning. So students should use technology to learn on their own with limited help from teachers. So technology could give an avenue for the students to have individualized learning. So it is where we can minimize our time talking. So just like the traditional way of teaching. Now there are different online tools that can be used in science teaching. First is Science Friday. So Science Friday will give latest news about science. So this is where the teacher will introduce a certain website to the student. Yeah. This is an interesting link. This is a very good link for you to learn more about science. So let's try to open the link. So this link will direct us to this page, Science Friday. So as you can see, there is this radio, or we could even listen to podcast. There is also this Educate tab, then video stories. So we have here May 7, 2021, the date today. And there are still a lot of important news found in this website. Just like this, Arctic wildfires are burning an important carbon sink, Beatles, chemical, plastic romance. So as you can see, the students can scroll a lot of information or news about science. So let's go back. Another is PBS Learning Media. So PBS Learning Media, this website is multi-subject but can be sorted by grade level and subject. So resources include audio, video, images, PDFs, and etc. So let's try to open this link. So as you can see, the power of technology is really there during this time of pandemic. So as a science teacher, we could incorporate these following links for them to learn more. So this could be our supplemental links for those students who having internet connection at home. So like for example, you have here subjects. You also have grades for what grade level are you teaching. Then, for example, let's have the subject about life science. So as you can see, there are a lot of educational videos about science. Then we could also filter this by grade level. If we are teaching grade 7, then the type is, it could be video or interactive lesson. So it depends on how you are going to teach the lesson. So for example, video. So there are things about related videos for grade 7 about cell. There you can find it, videos about cell. Okay, so there you have it. So again, it's free and
Whether it's an
course
animal,
very
a plant, or an
accessible.
amoeba, if you break a living thing down to its smallest parts.
Okay, now let's proceed to another link. The third link is Cells Alive. So it provides interactive lesson and games about cells. So let's try to open this website. So of course, there are topics in grade 7 about cells. So if we are teaching in face-to-face classroom instruction, or of course for the students having internet connection at home, they can explore this website. So there are interactive cell models. Okay, let's try to click this interactive cell model, then start animation. So there are also options whether we want animal cell or plant cell. So let's try to have animal cell. Let's look what's inside the animal cell. So let's try to explore the animal cell. So as you can see, it will really arouse the interest of the students, since if you try to point a certain regions, it would really give the name of that certain part of the cell. So if we click this, we have the nucleus. So it also gives the function of nucleus. Then let's have this rough endoplasmic. Then it gives the function of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. We have the mitochondrion. Okay, so there it's very easy to use, very user friendly, and of course, again, this website is free. Okay, we have vesicles. Now, if we have plant cell, so here is the picture of plant cell. You have the nucleus, and the nucleolus, I mean, and of course the vacuole. So very, very nice website, right, about cell. Then, if you would like to have interactive games about cells, so you also have here the games about cell, jigsaw puzzles, word puzzles. Then we also have the interactive about mitosis for grade 8. So this is what happened pala during metaphase. So let's try to play. Going to anaphase, telophase. Okay, that's it. Now let's proceed to another um, interactive links that we could use in teaching science. There are also online resources to teach periodic table of elements. So periodic table of elements, they are found in grade 7. We could also use, there are also for grade 8, 9, as well as for grade 10. So if we try to open the link, this is what you can see in the link. So if we want to see the all alkali metals, so you can show it to your students, right? So it's very easy. And of course, it's very nice. Alkaline earth metals, lanthanoids, actinoids, of course, the transition metals, post-transition, noble gases, reactive nonmetals. So this is what I am talking about, the lack of innovation. So we always stick to PowerPoint presentation, we always stick to video presentation wherein there are lots of free links or websites that we could make use for us to give interactive lesson or instruction to our students. So if you want to explore a certain name of that element, we have this, we can click manganese. So here is the information about manganese. Then we also have the electrons. So if we teach electronic configuration, I guess in grade 9, or yeah, in grade 9 or grade 8, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the oxidation states, the energy levels of cobalt. It's very nice. It compacts, or it encapsulates all information about the periodic table of elements. Then there are also compounds. So if we drag elements inside to create compounds, like for example, we drag H and we drag chlorine, the very common compound, so HCl. So you have here hydrogen chloride, hydrochloric acid. So these are the following name, or these are the name of the compounds that it could give. Okay, let's try another. Na and Cl. So the name is sodium chloride, right? So you can explore this website. So there are a lot of things that we could do from this website. Another is science buddies. So this presents resources such as science fair ideas, parent or student or teacher tools, and ask an expert. So let's try to open this website. So if we are looking for topics in chemistry, so there are lots of information here. For example, turning milk into plastic. So here you can have the procedure. So these are the different experimental procedure. And the illustration about that experiment. Okay, let's try to have another one. For example, in the subject, let's say physics. So there are different um, science fair ideas that that the students could explore from this link. So again, these are the different links that we could introduce to our students so that they can understand science better, and they could also increase their interest in learning science. So as you can see, technology really gives us a lot of benefit for us teachers. It is only up to us on how we wisely use technology for us to maximize our time and minimize our effort. Now let's proceed to lesson planning and innovative teaching science lessons. Okay, so according to Alan Lakein, failing to plan is planning to fail. So of course, our lesson plan is really our weapon as teachers because, of course, it serves as our blueprint on how we carry out our lesson for a certain day. According to Irashan 1994, the instructional process is made up of three steps. First is planning the instruction. Second, delivery of instruction. Third is assessment of learning. So before an actual teaching, there's already an imagination of teaching, which is done in the making of the lesson plan. So this is the time wherein we imagine, we assess the levels of our learners, and we select the appropriate teaching methods, essential or that it will be useful for the students to understand the lesson better. So what is a lesson plan? So it is a teacher's detailed description of the course of instruction for an individual lesson. So the following points should be considered while preparing the lesson plan. So this will just be a run through because we are done, or of course, before we became teachers, we are already trained on how to make lesson plans. So logical presentation of the topics guided by the syllabus. That's why we have, or the DepEd or the Department of Education provided us with the curriculum guide because this, of course, from the name guide, it will really guide us what are the topics to be taught for that specific date or for that specific week. We must also consider the level of the learners. And of course, the lesson is neither under or over skimmed, meaning to say it is not underly planned or overly planned, meaning sakto lang. It is just according to the level of the learners, and of course, the lesson objectives are met. So we should not be too ideal of the different activities that we give. that we tend to forget that those activities are not or are no longer aligned to the lesson objectives. So these are the different lesson plan components. First is the topic or the unit or work layout. So where do we select the topic? Again, we select the topic from the curriculum guide. And then after selecting the topic, we formulate aims, objectives, knowledge, skills, or application. So from these objectives, there are learning competencies that we need to follow. So we must stick to those learning competencies because those are the competencies set by the Department of Education for the students to achieve. And of course, objectives are written according or by following the three domains of learning, which are the cognitive, psychomotor, as well as the affective learning. So then again, we are not just honing the minds of our students, but we also training our students to apply the concepts. And of course, we are also cultivating the hearts of our students. Next is teaching techniques or methodology or the procedure. So teaching method is defined as the flow of information between teachers and students. So it is the way of carrying out the actual teaching in the classroom. So in our undergraduate studies, we are exposed with the different types of teaching methods. But I consider these teaching methods as effective in terms of science teaching methods. So we have this inductive method, the 7 E's, which is divided into engage, elicit, explore, explain, elaborate, extend, and evaluate. Then also part of the inductive method, I also consider this active learning methods in a form of games, or it could also be in a form of group discussion, brainstorming, or role play, which is under the method of 5 A's, which is further subdivided into awareness, activity, analysis, abstraction, as well as application. Then, not all lessons in science could be done by using inductive method. There are also lessons which are very hard for the students to understand if we use inductive method. That's why we use the deductive method or the teacher directed instruction, such as the lecture method or the experimental or demonstration or the illustration method. So if we ask, is there a better method or is there a method which is considered as the best? The answer is none. It all depends on the nature of the subject matter. Because then again, there are topics which are very easy, and of course, we can apply inductive method, but also there are topics in science which are very difficult, and if we apply inductive method, it will somehow make the students harder for them to understand. Okay? Okay. Then after considering the different teaching techniques or methodology, part of the lesson plan is writing the different learning materials to be used during the lesson. Then after writing the lesson materials or the learning materials, let's now proceed to the description of assessments or the type of assessments that will be given to the students. Again, assessment is a process of collecting evidences for us to measure gains of learning. Now, we should always remember that the type of assessment that we should give to our students are aligned to the objectives of our lesson. Next component of lesson plan is the evidence of assessment. So what are the evidences of assessment? Of course, the scores of the students in a certain worksheets or the observation tool or observation report that we have. If we give activities which are or which involve group activities or group works. Then after that is feedback. So feedback is very important for the students or for us to know whether all of the students learned our lesson or what is the percentage of the students who passed the activity or the assessment or the number of the students who failed or needs remediation. So let's proceed to example of lesson plan. The topic cell physiology, specifically the osmosis. So by the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to describe osmosis, explain how the process of osmosis takes place through an experiment, and explain the importance of osmosis on living tissues. So the method used is illustration method. So there you can see a certain illustration is provided by the teacher about osmosis. Then the learners will set up the experiment on osmosis using the different procedures. So here is the procedure. Then these are the different learning materials used by the teacher or to carry out the instruction. Then the type of assessment used is the students are asked to observe osmosis in carrots in the two bakers with different concentration and compare the physical state of the carrots carefully. Then they are also asked to answer the questions given in the worksheet. So the description of assessment, there you can see, marks for each correct is equal to 1. The teacher will evaluate the worksheet. The student has answered more than 5 correct, so the total marks will be 5. So these are the evidences of assessment. Worksheets collected from the students, marks awarded sheet, and observation record. Feedback. So the teacher identifies the students who are not able to give correct answer. They were given another chance to, and the concept is taught once again. So this is where remediation happens. Why do we really need to make a lesson plan? Because this is the legal basis. So there is a legal basis. According to Article 4, Section 2 of the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers, adopted in 1997 through Board Resolution number 435 by the Board of Professional Teachers, it states that every teacher shall uphold the highest standards of quality education, shall make the best preparations for the career of teaching, and shall be at his best at all times in the practice of his profession. So how do we become the best of ourselves? If we are able to plan the lesson that we teach. So there is also a DepEd order number 42 series of 2016, which states the policy guidelines on daily lesson preparation for the K-12 basic education program. So this is in line with the implementation of Republic Act number 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. So according to this policy guideline, planning lessons is fundamental to ensuring the delivery of teaching and learning in schools. These guidelines aim to support teachers in organizing and managing their classes and lessons effectively and efficiently and ensure the achievement of learning outcomes. So, there you have these two important phrases. Lesson plans are really recommended to manage the classes and lessons effectively and to see the achievement or to ensure achievement of learning outcomes. So these are the two ways in which we can prepare or plan our lesson. So it could be through DLL or daily lesson log, or it could be through DLP or detailed lesson plan. So in DLL, template teachers use to log parts of their daily lesson, only the parts. and it covers a daily or week's worth of lessons. So daily lesson log is more likely a lesser burden to the teacher in terms of maximizing their time or our time in preparation, because of course from the word daily, so we do it daily or every day. So daily lesson log is easier to accomplish than the DLP or the detailed lesson plan. So it is still DLP is required, but there are conditions according to the DepEd Order number 42. So allowed, who are only allowed to make DLL, and who are required to make DLP or detailed lesson plan. So teachers with at least 1 year of teaching experience, including the private and higher education institutions teaching experience. So even if the teacher is or has an experience in private or in teaching in college, so it already marks as a teaching experience. So once he or she will go to the Department of Education, the teacher will only be required to make a DLL. But for those teachers without professional teaching, even in private or in college, they are required to prepare DLP for 1 year, only for 1 year. So to end, let me share with you the statement according to Albert Einstein. Teaching should be such that what is offered is perceived as a valuable gift and not as a hard duty. So we tend to complain about the preparation of DLP or preparation of DLL. However, we must be reminded that teaching is a valuable gift. So it must not be perceived as a hard duty, since this is a noble profession. And of course, we are here for a reason. We are not here if we are not meant to teach minds, transform lives, and touch the hearts of the students. So that would be all. Thank you.